So morning, everybody. About there. So my name's Chris, and I'm actually a healthcare chaplain. I'm head of chaplaincy and spiritual care at St George's University Hospitals in London. And, well, I will be for the next few weeks before I leave down there. You know, people have some really weird ideas about chaplains. They think that they're there for the dying. We're a 1,750 beds at the moment, but we're normally about a 1,400 bed hospital, and we may lose 2 people in a 24-hour period. So I lead a team of 12 and 34 volunteers, so we wouldn't last long in the NHS if we were just there for the dying. We're there for the living. And what our core skill is building relationships at pace in an acute moment. Relationships built on trust, relationships that will endure for those who are really badly broken for many months while they're coming to hospital and many years forward from there as well. Now, if you look at the Bible in any meaningful way, it's all about relationships. Every single thing. There's a little bit about creation, there's a bit about the temple, there's a bit about the ordination of priests and things like that, and fancy robes and anointing oil. But 99.9% of the Bible is all about relationship. Now, you can look at the Ten Commandments in a number of different ways. You can look at them as a set of rules that you need to keep safe, maintain that relationship with God. You can look at them as a contract. You do this, I do that, everything will go swimmingly. Or you can look at them as a basis for a healthy, vibrant, safe relationship. Because if you actually look at them and apply them in a personal sense, who actually wants a relationship with a two-timing, two-faced, murdering thief who wants everything you've got, gives nothing in return, and ditches even their own mum and dad when they've outlived their usefulness? Any takers? But that is what you've got. That is what you've got. So we, as a church, are actually a hospital. We're a place for healing and wholeness. We're a place where people can find hope and new life, heal from brokenness, and grow into a new life that God has for them. They can only do that if they are safe in the orbit of the relationships that we actually share. So it's murder this morning, RK. Happy New Year. Let's actually deal with the visceral reality first. Murder, unlawful killing, and in the Bible, in this particular word, it doesn't just mean the unlawful taking of life, it also means causing death by negligence or carelessness, so health and safety was alive and well in the old days. We have a duty of care to each other, a proactive, absolute duty of care for each other, our welfare and our well-being. And it's the worst that we can actually do to anyone is to take their life. In my job, I've stood too many times at the side of usually young men who've been knifed multiple times. It's a visceral reality when you see someone who is in the process of being robbed of their life by the actions of another. And there is something about knife crime. You know, you are holding the weapon when you are stabbing someone. There's an intimacy to it, an immediacy to it. It's a horrific thing, and it shakes everyone who is a witness to it. Nursing colleagues, medical colleagues, the family. And what you have to remember is that you're not just taking an individual's life. Because alongside them and surrounding them are all those other relationships: parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, friends, relatives, a community. So you've not just harmed one life, you've harmed multiple lives. And we see it time and time again, don't we, in the news? We hear it in the victim statements. You know, my first career when I left school, the only one I actually chose for myself, was as a chef and restaurateur. For me, knives are a thing of beauty and wonder. A friend came round on New Year's Eve. I've got a new knife. It's handcrafted. It's a very beautiful thing. It's razor sharp. I keep it away from Jess. To be fair, I've never cut myself with it, and I haven't cut myself with a knife for a long time, but I've nicked myself twice just washing the thing. And Jessica's not yet noticed the slice that there is in one of the tea towels. But you know, for me, it's an act of sacrilege using a knife in such a way as that. Because this is a thing of beauty and craftsmanship to be used with skill and care and precision to give enjoyment. Because food is all about life. And to see knives so misused, and they're all kitchen knives. You know, when Ian, our son-in-law, married to our eldest daughter, was first settling into family life, he nicknamed one of our drawers the drawer of death. You know, it's the one that's got all the kitchen knives and all the other kitchen stuff in. And yeah, it wasn't a safe place to go rummaging around. If my knives were in there, you'd lose your fingers for sure. So, murder in its most literal form is the utter destruction of another human life. It is taking that life and removing all evidence of potential. But let's just be honest. I don't know most of you at all. So I've got no idea about your history or your past. There could be a murderer here, out on license and living well. I've met a few over the years. They've been really nice. Obviously, they were Christian by that stage. But just because you cannot actually see something does not mean it isn't real. Just because you can't see something does not mean it isn't real. Love. Anyone know what love is? You can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't smell it, but you feel it. It has impact, it has influence. And there's many things in our lives and the lives that we share have exactly the same impact and influence, but they are harmful. Janet, do you have that image that I asked for? So, the pandemic. I haven't done lockdown. I haven't done social distancing. I haven't done anything that most people have actually done. And back in March 2020, when I was down in London, I was walking empty streets, going to work and coming home. There were only 2 vehicles on the roads at all. Ambulances, these were all full, and buses, these were all empty. And every single day, I would walk past buses with this sign on it. It's for the film The Invisible Man, which had just been released, I think in 2019, but they were still on the buses advertising it in March 2020. And what you can't see can actually hurt you. You can't see the virus, but people like me and all my colleagues who have face-to-face with all of this don't have the privilege of imagining that it's not real or it's not harmful or it's not baleful or anything like that. We know the realities, we've seen it, and we've lived with it, and those who've been impacted by it. What you can't see can actually hurt you, and all of us in some way are guilty of the practice of murder to some depth, either through willful intent, carelessness, or neglect by the words we speak and the words we use in our relationships and against each other. Words are a nasty piece of work, and they can do an awful lot of harm. It's our use of words that Jesus drills into in Matthew 5. I'm not going to pick the Bible up because I'll have to put this thing down and that won't work well. But it's in Matthew 5, if you read it, when Jesus picks up that question of murder, it's through the use of words. He says, if you even use the word raka against someone, and raka quite literally means empty or worthless, you are guilty. And we do misuse words so much. Anger, getting angry is inevitable. You know, there's always going to be someone that's going to push our buttons, but it's a matter of choice about how we respond or we react. It's all down to ourselves. It's a decision that we make how we respond. Or usually, honestly, we don't make a decision, we just go for it. In illness, in my world, a lot of people who've got challenging diagnoses, when we come, they're wanting us to pray for a miracle. Over the years, I have seen the miraculous. I've seen the wondrous and the extraordinary, the inexplicable, the unanticipated. But most of it goes the way you would expect it to go. And most recovery and rehabilitation comes through self-discipline, discipleship. It's a cooperation with what's happened, whether it's medicine or surgery, your body's healing process, and then you have to cooperate with your body to recover. A quality of self-discipline that we need to apply to all the areas of our lives, without exception. Without exception. We have a duty of care for each other. A duty of care for each other, to be self-aware of who we are and how we are being received by others. So, self-knowledge, self-awareness. A little bit about me. I became a Christian when I was 21. I'd left school, I'd gone into catering, and I was thriving. I was loving it. I was making progress hand over fist. I was in a strong place. And I, through the whole of my life, have grown on the basis of achievement, of evidenced influence in my working life. And what that means is that I don't exactly lack confidence, to say the least. I am highly confident in the skills I possess. I'm also very well aware of my weaknesses too. I've gone through so much training in self-awareness, in emotional intelligence, and all the rest of it. Of course, I don't need it because I'm a priest. I'm an Anglican priest, and you know, you get ordained and anointed, and you wear fancy robes. So, of course, I'm perfect. Unfortunately, I'm married. I have 2 grown children, and there are witnesses to the contrary. But I know how I can be received by some people. And I know the people who surround me and who just love me unconditionally, who I can just let my unfiltered self be out there, say what's on my mind or in my imagination without any concern that they'll take it the wrong way. But I also know that when I'm meeting other people, I need to be on my guard. I need to put myself in a harness, and I need to mediate how I am and who I am for others to be able to receive me safely and receive the care and the support and the nurture that they need. I meet people where they actually are, support them to understand what's happened, make sense of it for themselves and understand it as they understand and experience it, and then walk with them on their terms forward from there towards recovery and rehabilitation, or wherever that journey is going to lead. But it's not just me, it's all of us that need those same levels of self-awareness, of emotional intelligence, if we are truly to be a healing community, a community that actually creates wholeness for others. Nobody is ever interested in who I am or what I have to say. What they are interested in is who I am for them. Who I am for them. We have a duty of care to each other. So what that means is we need to pay attention to ourselves. We need to learn about how things make us feel, and then think about the words we use and speak to each other and what impact they're going to have on other people. All of us bear scars. You know, I'm fairly Teflon these days, but, you know, even Teflon gets dinted. For people who are very vulnerable and who have a legacy of hurt and harm that's much closer to the surface, if we are not careful, we will do great harm. We're about to move to a whole new community. That community is not going to be interested in anything we've got to say, but they are going to be very interested in who we are. They will road test us, just as we are road tested. They want to know what kind of people we are. Do we have a sense of humor? Do we take ourselves too seriously? Or we bit up ourselves? Or are we genuinely there for them? So, nothing and no one is perfect, and we are all in need of forgiveness. C.S. Lewis said that forgiveness is a really good idea until we have something we need to forgive. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. We often think that if we forgive something, then we are conceding justice. But it's not true. Neville sat here. I say something to Neville that is profoundly offensive and walk away, and Neville says, "I forgive you," and I say, "Not interested. Not my problem." Neville has stated that there is something that needs to be forgiven. And therefore, the guilt of what I have done to him stays with me until I turn back and say to Neville, "I'm so sorry." It takes one person to forgive, and there's no concession of justice, but it takes two to be reconciled. Practice reconciliation. Don't wait. If there is something needs sorting, sort it. It's not magic. You know, people asking for miracles is often magic. They're looking for an easy way through things. Life is not easy. Life is hard. Life is challenging. All of us are in some way a bit broken somehow. We need each other to be a safe space to be and to heal and to grow. Tensions in relationships are invisible but real. Mistrust in relationships is invisible but real. Hurt in relationships is invisible but real. We have to take these things really seriously. We speak an awful lot about who God is for us and who Jesus is in our walk through life. But he's not just uniquely focused on me or any individual. He's focused on us all. And if I do hurt or harm to a brother or sister in Christ, it's not just them that I've hurt or harmed. It's God who loves them, who gave himself for them, who is equally hurt and harmed. Jesus took all our abilities to take offense away from us. When he forgave someone's sins, he didn't ask the person who was sinned against whether he was happy for Jesus to forgive them their sins. He just forgave them as though he is the one primarily sinned against, and he is. Because ultimately behind all of us, each of us, and every human soul is God himself, who loves them, who gave himself for them. If someone kicks off at you, so what? Let it go. I've learned over many years, just let them give their tirade. Say nothing. Just let them get carried away with their words. You're not going to achieve anything anyway. And anyway, that way, they end up with their own words ringing round their head and not yours having come back at them. Don't go back at them. But I think most importantly, one thing that is true is saying to someone, why are you behaving like that? What are you doing that for? Is pointless because they don't know. But if at an appropriate moment you say to them, what's happened to you? That changes everything. That little insight didn't come from me, it came from Jessica. She brought it home from some training she'd been on. I stole it and applied it to chaplaincy praxis. And it's extraordinary. I mean, being in chaplaincy is a unique privilege because we get to meet people who will never come near a church in a million years. But too often, we sit at the side of people who have been part of Christian communities and are no longer so. Why not? Because of things that were said or done. I remember when I first became a vicar, a proper vicar. You know, it's a fair old journey. You've got 6 years of training and formation before they let you loose with a congregation. And I'd not long become a vicar, and my kids were dinky by that stage, and I was walking them to and from school, and I used to hang around the school gates. It's a great place to meet people, isn't it? And over the months, I got to know some of the mothers there, and because they were all mothers, I was the only dad hanging around the joint. And one of them came up to me and said that they used to belong to the church where I'd just become vicar. And I said, why are you not there now? What happened? And they told me that their little girl, who was a friend of my youngest daughter's, had had some new shoes, you know, hard leather bottoms. We named our kids' shoes clop shoes because they make a clopping sound. And we had a hard wooden floor like this. And so their little one found it entertaining to make clop noises in the middle of a service. And one of the church wardens had told her to take a child out. She never forgot it. And she never felt welcome again. She did come to stuff, and so did the kids. But the words we speak with each other and the quality of our relationships needs to be healthy if we are to thrive and if we are to grow. I have a favorite word in my world, transparency. I want to see through every single thing and nothing hidden whatsoever. We need to be transparent in our relationships with each other. So, when I've been at that place a few years, we decided to do a branding because everything needs an identity. And we needed a new identity that reflected who we were. So we got an organization in to do it. It was really good fun. They said that you can't say anything about yourself that isn't actually true. And so we got together and we started working out who we were. We did our values. We came up with 5 values. And finally I said to the church, okay, choose the one that you think is the most significant for us, the truest one for us. And we'll have that as our strapline. And they came back overwhelmingly. The top value was a place where friendship was true. That was our top value. And I wouldn't let them have it because it didn't say anything about Jesus. But it was also church for the party generation as well. But we didn't have that one either. It's not that we were perfect. You know, my greatest ally in so many of the things that we did, and we did some extraordinary things whilst I was there, she could rattle around the congregation, putting people's backs up left, right, and center, pursuing the vision and the goals of what we were trying to do. But people forgave her because they knew her heart was in the right place and they would work out those relationships. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being on your toes all the time. But it is about being aware enough of what's happening to be able to, in personal terms, as far as it is within your orbit, to put it right and keep those relationships healthy. Speak the truth in love for a loving purpose. So we're going to a new home community. No one is going to be interested in what we've got to say about Jesus until they're clear about who we actually are. We started with murder and that visceral reality, but the reality is, in a world like ours, more murder, more harm, more hurt is done by intent, carelessness, or negligence through the words we speak and the interactions we have with each other. We've got to get past that. We've got to be focused on who the Lord is calling us to be for the sake of each other and all those others who are highly vulnerable, who will come and look to find a place of sanctuary and solace, of hope and new life. I'm going to shut up. I haven't done this since 2013, and it's quite enough for me. But I'm going to leave you with a quote from, his name's Charlie Mackesy. He's an artist. His hair is as wild as his outlook on life. He's a Christian. He's part of Holy Trinity Brompton. He's a brilliant artist. He does some of the talks in the Alpha course. And I think people turn up who've done Alpha many times just to hear what he's going to say next. But he does, what he says is this. If my faith isn't making me more human, vulnerable, empathetic, honest and kind, then I need to rethink it. If my faith isn't making me more human, vulnerable, empathetic, honest and kind, then I need to rethink it. I'll be perfectly frank with you. There are plenty of people trying to volunteer with healthcare. Most of them don't get through the selection process because they're lovely people, but they're not the right kind of people. Here, we have to learn to be the right kind of people. And if our faith isn't making us fundamentally more humane, more kind, then we really need to rethink it. May the Lord bless you through 2022 and keep you safe in all you do.